All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into a seriously fascinating look at a tiny, tiny strip of water that literally holds the entire global economy by the jugular. We're talking about a place where billions of dollars pass through every single day, where global markets could just easily be thrown into absolute panic, and where a localized regional conflict has the very real potential to become a massive international crisis. We're talking, of course, about the Strait of Hormuz. It's often called the world's most dangerous shipping lane. But to really grasp why this matters so much to all of us, we kind of have to start by looking at its physical size. 33 kilometers. That's it. The Strait of Hormuz is barely 33 kilometers wide. Just think about that for a second. You could drive a distance that short on an open highway in, about 25 minutes? That's barely enough time to finish your morning coffee. So it's this incredibly tiny, narrow strip of water, but its physical size completely belies its monumental importance to, every single person on this planet. Now, contrast that tiny width against the sheer scale of global trade. Roughly 20%, so 1/5 of all global seaborne oil, passes right through this corridor. Every single day, a massive chunk of the energy that actually powers our modern world is squeezed through a gap that's barely wider than a large city. It's an absolute bottleneck. It acts almost like a physical valve for the global economy, making it for sure one of the most strategically important maritime choke points in the entire world. So, geographically speaking, this vital corridor is nestled right between Iran to the north and Oman to the south. It serves as the ultimate gatekeeper, right? Connecting the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman, and then ultimately out to the Arabian Sea and the broader world. If a ship wants to leave the Gulf, it basically has to go through this specific door. There's really no other way around it. Section 1. The Oil Highway. And this is exactly why every global superpower monitors this waterway with hawk-like intensity. You've got major heavyweights, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and they depend entirely on it to get their resources out. Without the Strait of Hormuz, the energy exports of these incredibly wealthy, resource-dense nations effectively hit a brick wall. It's their primary and, honestly, in some cases, their only practical export route to the global market. But here's the catch. This highway is highly vulnerable. Recent reports of attacks on commercial vessels in the area have honestly sent shockwaves around the globe, and that's come with some intense, renewed diplomatic strain. When commercial ships near the strait come under attack, it immediately sparks fears about the safety of international shipping and just massively complicates ongoing diplomatic efforts. This isn't just some historical anxiety you read about in a textbook. We're looking at a current, rapidly evolving conflict. Section 2. Two perspectives. The U.S. and Iran. So there is a very fundamental disagreement at play here. On one hand, the United States has historically maintained a major naval presence in the Gulf. Their stated objective is all about protecting freedom of navigation, ensuring commercial shipping flows freely through international waterways. They're prioritizing global economic stability. Meanwhile, Iran, which borders the entire northern side of the strait, views things entirely differently. Their main objective is defending national security. They argue that having foreign military forces operating so incredibly close to their coastline is a direct threat. It's a total deadlock. In fact, as this quote highlights, this fundamental disagreement has fueled repeated crises over the years. Western governments firmly argue that commercial navigation just has to remain open under international law, while Tehran just as firmly rejects foreign military pressure near its borders. Neither side is backing down. And because of the massive stakes involved, even minor, really limited confrontations in these waters draw intense international attention. Now, when these tensions inevitably flare up, the immediate logistical fallout is severe. Insurance costs for shipping just skyrocket. Think about it. Nobody wants to offer a cheap policy to a massive oil tanker that's sailing straight into a potential conflict zone. Because of that insane financial risk, shipping companies are forced to reroute their vessels, or they just delay their voyages altogether. The maritime traffic jams and the logistical nightmares, they begin pretty much instantly. Section 3. The Global Economic Ripple. Whenever tensions rise in Hormuz, we see this immediate economic chain reaction. Step 1. Traders fear potential disruptions to energy supplies, so crude oil prices spike. Step 2. Because fuel is more expensive, transportation costs universally rise. Step 3. This makes things like electricity generation and manufacturing significantly more expensive to run. Step 4. Since it costs more to make and transport goods, food prices increase at your local grocery store. And then finally, step 5, this localized panic fully transforms into widespread global inflation. The stark reality here is that even nations far, far away from the Middle East feel these economic effects. You do not have to live anywhere near the Persian Gulf to pay the price for a crisis in Hormuz. The super interconnected nature of global trade means a disruption in this tiny 33-kilometer gap ripples out to directly impact the cost of living for people on completely different continents.
Section 4. Beyond the water.
Because at the end of the day, the Strait of Hormuz is so much more than just a narrow waterway. It represents this massive, high-stakes intersection across multiple domains. For energy security, global oil supplies hang in the balance. In global trade, the flow of critical shipping lanes is dictated right here. For military strategy, it acts as the primary focal point for naval posturing and defense. And in international diplomacy, it serves as center stage for some seriously tense negotiations between Washington and Tehran. Every single one of these domains overlaps right here, with highly uncertain consequences for our future. Which really leaves us with a staggering question: will a 33-kilometer passage dictate the future of the global economy? It's just an incredible juxtaposition, right? Physical size versus immense global power. Whether the current tensions lead to renewed negotiations or further confrontation is entirely uncertain. But what is absolutely clear from everything we've explored today is that decisions made around this incredibly small stretch of water are going to have consequences way beyond the Middle East. The world is going to keep watching, because the future of the global economy just might depend on a passage barely wider than a city.